Be that. You wanna help me? No? Yeah? Yeah. Oh, you come back. No. Hello. This week I'm gonna be working on my Cottagecore green linen dress. I bought the linen from B Black & Sons in LA Fabric District. Am I even in focus here? Who else? Can you say hi? I took a poll from you guys and asked you guys to figure out what pattern I should use, and this is the one that got the most, I don't know, votes. Let me find the pattern. What you doing? My silly girl. So 2 of them got a lot of votes, but the McCall's M8195 got the most votes, and I was thinking of combining a bunch of patterns together and making something, but then I found this inspiration from Bedra Vintage that I really wanted to emulate. It's just a top, but I thought it would make a cute dress too. Where are you going? You make that jump? Okay. So I decided instead that I could use this pattern to emulate that look. So that is the plan, and I think that it should only be a few minor alterations and I'll be able to stay pretty true to this actual pattern. So that's cool, and that's pretty much it for my intro. Not much to introduce in this one. I'm going to be following the pattern and the directions fairly closely, except in the case of the pattern where I have decided that I'm going to make these changes, and then with the instructions, obviously, if there's something that I think it could be done better, I'm going to change that, and mostly just like any seam finishing, since commercial patterns don't tend to have a lot of seam finishing, they leave a lot of edges raw. So I will be doing seam finishes as I think is appropriate, and I will let you guys know how all that goes. That's about all I've got to introduce, so let's go. Can you say hi? Oh, where are you going? Where are you going? Moo! Hello. Hello. Who's that? Who's that? Okay, let's go. Traced out my whole pattern. The main alterations I've made, I've added an inch to the top and bottom of the sleeve pattern so that I can add a ruffle, and then I've also changed the top of the bodice piece. The bodice top front piece I've changed so that it can have more of a flat drawstring effect. This is what the original neckline is supposed to look like, and I've changed it so that it looks like this one from Bedra Vintage. To do that, all I've done is I started off like this. What I've done is I've added another piece that goes out to the front like that, and then I've squared off the front so that it's more of a 90-degree angle with that. By gathering that back up there, it should give a little bit more volume for the bust for one, but it'll also just bring it back to that slant that was in the original pattern. So I think that this fits really well. I didn't have to make any alterations regarding the size, so that's cool. That just like worked out really well. The only part that I think is maybe a little loose is right under the bust here, but I would rather that be a little bit loose so I can like lift my arms and stuff than too tight. This is also riding up a little bit because I think that this part is just a little bit too wide for my torso. I think that the measurement from under my bust to my waist is maybe a little bit shorter than whoever they made this pattern for. So if I just take like 1/4 to 1/2 inch off of just the bodice part at the waistline, I think that will make this sit in the correct place. I don't know, I kind of like it where it's a little bit higher actually, so I think I will leave it. So I did change it so that instead of being more of like this kind of shape, I made it so that it has a little drawstring so that I can make it gathered at the top as well as the bottom, because I didn't really like how it looked when it was only gathered at the bottom. I thought that was a little weird. I do think I want more along this side though, so I think I will alter the pattern just so that this edge is a little bit longer. For the sleeves, I did one side as a short sleeve and one side as a long sleeve, and while I really love the long sleeves, I would make this a little bit tighter around the wrist, and I think if I were to use long sleeves I would add a cuff, but I think the short sleeve just kind of suits the look of this whole dress a little bit better, so I think I am going to stick with the short sleeves. Unfortunately, that is not what was voted as being popular, but oh well. I'm gonna do a cute little short sleeve dress, and I think that the short sleeves go really well with like this little milkmaid style top. I think that's very cute. The last part that I think I need to look at is the hem. I think the hem's a little bit too short. I think I would prefer it to be a little bit of a longer dress. Sorry, you can't see my legs very well because I'm wearing black leggings against a black background, but hopefully it's not too confusing. I might just do however long the fabric allows me to do, see how long I can go, and then kind of just cut it off if I don't like it. But I think that this looks good. I'm trying to decide if I want more volume in the skirt as well. Though this is actually, I think it's pretty cute how it is without too much extra volume. I don't know. I'm really torn between making a big twirly dress and keeping it simple because there's so much going on up the top here. I could also add a ruffle at the bottom to kind of match the ruffling at the top edge here. But other than the waist fit, like just the waist being too long for my torso, everything fits pretty well. The only changes that I added to the pattern were making the top part of this that ruche detail, and then I also added a little bit of a ruffle at the top. So to do that, I just added 1 inch to the pattern at the bottom of the top. Let that be just the ruffle that's continuous onto the sleeve. So it's not a separate ruffle, it's just part of the sleeve. And I think it looks really cute. Let's take a look at the back. I'm hoping that once this is in a more substantial fabric and has lining, it'll be a little bit less sad looking, because I don't know, the back doesn't look great. Also, my sewing was a little sloppy on the mock-up, so you know. I was considering adding some shirring in the back, and maybe I'll still do that just because I think it would be better if it was pulled a little tighter. I think it'll be fine without the shirring once it's got a lining in it. So I'm just gonna leave it how it is. I'm going to do the short sleeve side. I'm gonna see if I can add any to the skirt to make it a little bit longer and just alter the waistline to bring that up a little bit. Though now that I'm bringing it up, it's kind of wanting to just sit at the higher place, so maybe I'll take that back down. Yeah, I don't know, and I think it looks better longer, so I'll just leave it longer, and if it rides up a little bit here, that's okay. Good pattern to try out. It fits as it should if you are the measurements that it says, I guess. I don't know, I'm not even actually the correct measurements, so it seems like you can kind of fudge it a little bit on either end. Let's go make some pattern alterations and cut some fabric. Decided that I want to do the short sleeve rather than the long sleeve, so I'm just gonna cut off where I had marked for the short sleeve. The other alteration that I want to make is that I wanted this length where the drawstring is going to be a little bit longer, so I'm just going to extend that out here and add some more to this side here. And then I think I'll also change the grain line so that the grain line stays consistent with the center front edge there. I don't really like the angle that this is making right here. It's a very sharp angle, so I think I'm gonna kind of curve this along here so that I can make this more of a 90-degree angle, and then, I don't know, it'll add a little bit more and it'll be fine. I don't know. I can't really give a good justification for why I want to do this, except that this angle just looks really wrong to me. So because I've decided to add the inch ruffle at the top and bottom of the sleeve, I am going to be doing the casing a little bit differently. In the instructions for the commercial pattern, it says to bind the edge and like flip everything to the inside so that you have a casing there. But because I want this to be the ruffle edge and not where the casing goes, instead I have made my own casing out of matching fabric, so it's the same fabric. And I took a 1-inch strip and I folded the insides in so that it meets halfway in the middle, so 1/4 inch on each side. That makes a 1/2 inch casing strip. So what I'm going to do is I'll just literally top stitch this on, and it won't be visible from the outside. Like obviously the stitching will be, but it'll have 2 lines of stitching where the elastic will go and it'll be gathered, so it won't matter. But I'm gonna just stitch this on top, and that'll make a really nice cohesive casing for everything, and it won't be visible. So this is a lot of effort for something that's not actually gonna be very visible, but I will know, and I think it looks cute, so that's how I'm gonna do the casing. I'm gonna stop just shy of the seam where the sleeve actually turns into a tube so that I can still thread an elastic through, and then that'll get closed up all at the end when I am like actually putting the sleeve together. Before I cut to the reveal, I wanted to talk about a couple things that I did that were different from what the pattern instructions say. The first is that instead of whatever they said to do for the hem, I did a faced hem and I used a contrast-ish muslin. So it's just like a normal unbleached muslin, but I thought that it would be cute because if you've ever seen the brand Sondaflor, they do a kind of like light contrast muslin as well, and whenever they do the promo shots of their models spinning, it's always this cute little flash of the hem facing, and I just wanted to emulate that. It's not technically correct. You would, I don't know, correctly use like matching hem facing or do what I've done in the past with the hug snug and then flipping everything up, stitching it down. But I just kind of wanted to mimic the brand Sondaflor, so that is what I did, and I think it's pretty cute. The other thing is that I did French seams on pretty much every seam. The bodice seams didn't get French seams because they're all encased by the lining, but all of my skirt seams and my pocket seams I did as French seams. So those are all nicely encased. There's no raw seams anywhere except for on the zipper. So that is the last big difference I think that I had from just like other than pattern changes and everything that I discussed before. But instead of doing a French seam on the zipper, which I don't know, can you do a French seam on a zipper? I'm not sure, but I left this raw. So the skirt pieces, the center back seam on the skirt pieces was cut on the selvage, and that won't ever unravel because it's selvage. So though it's not the prettiest, it's high up enough that I figured it would be fine, and that'll be like structurally sound, so I'm not worried about that unraveling. And then when I got to the top here where the raw edges were just actually raw edges and not selvage, I whipped the zipper down so that those raw edges are hidden behind the zipper tape. So that will always stay nice and neat, and I won't get any fraying out because the edge of the zipper tape is obviously like made so that it's structurally sound. So that'll just cover the raw edge of the seam there, and it will stay nice and not fraying. This is not my personal favorite way to do zippers. I would prefer to encase them in the lining so that you don't even see the zipper tape. The bodice is seamed like halfway down, like there's a top and a bottom part to the bodice, and because the skirt doesn't have any lining, it was just easier to do it this way, and I don't know, I didn't want to make my brain think about it. I also added a hook and eye at the very top just to keep the zipper together. I mean, the zipper would stay together, but just to make it so that everything stays all nice and together all the time. I decided after I'd stitched the casing for the sleeves on already that I did want the casing to be on the outside, so I just flipped everything around. So the sleeves are technically like the wrong side out, but whatever, I don't care. I don't really think there's much of a wrong or a right side to this fabric, so I don't think it matters. The really big difference for construction was that I ended up encasing both this underbust seam and the skirt waist seam in the seams so that there's no raw edges there, and that's what was happening when it kind of turned into a big sausage looking thing. I was just making sure that the lining was encasing both sides. The other way to do that would just be to like stitch the skirt and the bodice together on the front first and then fold under and top stitch that, but because I didn't want any top stitching showing, I did it the sausage way. It's a little bit more complicated and it's kind of annoying because you have to roll everything up so that it fits into the small space. So if you don't have a wide enough space here or your fabric's too bulky, you can't really do that, but I was able to do it with this and it turned out fine, so hooray. That's it. That's all of the dress. We can go to the reveal now.
out there. I meant to shoot this yesterday when it was like a nice balmy, I don't know, 60-ish degrees, and instead we watched a lot of Shadow and Bone. Oh my god, this series is so good. I don't know, I really like the TV show in its aesthetics, but I have some issues with the fact that it's not super faithful to the book. So if you want to chat about Shadow and Bone with me, just leave a comment or like message me on Instagram or something. I would love to have feelings about TV shows and books with you. But to get on to this video, I meant to shoot this yesterday and then we didn't and had to go take the car in, but today it snowed. It's been snowing all morning and this is not a snow appropriate dress. So I tried to accessorize appropriately with like a big chunky sweater and like some chunky knee-high socks, but I'm still cold, but that's okay. It's over, we're done, we are moving on. I think this project turned out really well. I'm really happy with how the dress looks and with the alterations that I made. I think that this bodice part is super cute and I really like all of the extra added ruffles and things. I think that it made the pattern just like a little bit more like ready to wear rather than homemade. So that was my big qualm with this pattern, is that even the picture that they used on the front of the envelope, it looks homemade, which is like, there's nothing wrong with looking homemade. I just want my stuff to look more professional since I have the the skills and degree to back that up. It makes me feel better if it looks like it's more store-bought, I guess. I don't know. If that sounds like condescending or something, I really apologize. I'm not meaning it that way. It's a personal hang-up. So I think that adding all those little details made it look a little bit more like it was professionally made than like homemade, I guess. Whatever. I also like that there's pockets. I appreciate the pockets. I'm not sure that I can actually put much like my phone in there or anything heavy in there without it weighing the whole dress down. I like that they're there anyways. It makes me feel better to have pockets. The dress somehow ended up a lot larger. I don't know if maybe I was really bloated or something when I did the original fitting. It was like TMI probably, but I was like starting my period when I did this fitting. That was how the timing worked out. I prefer to do it when I'm not like in the midst of PMS bloating, but that's just kind of how the filming schedule works. You gotta do it when you can. So I'm thinking that maybe I was extra bloated when I did this fitting, so that was why everything turned out, like everything on this dress turned out a little bit too large. I have it pinned in the back so that it looked correct for the reveal, but I think that I'm gonna have to go back and take some out of it, but I don't know, it's not that urgent and like it's not a high priority project. I think also that if I do take out of it, it seems that like with it pinned, the side seams do land pretty much, maybe just a little tiny bit behind my like body side seam, but not enough that I like mind. So I think I'm gonna just take it all out of the back because that'll be a lot simpler than trying to take it out because of what I did with this like waist piece here. It's gonna be really complicated to take it apart from the side seam, so I just don't want to. If I can just take it out of the back, then all I have to do is move the zipper, and that's a really simple, easy hack. I don't know, bodies change constantly. Assigned female people at birth, especially with the fluctuation of hormones throughout the month, your body changes just drastically every single month. So like I probably have like a good like 2 to 3 inches that I can pinch out of this, so that's like a 2 to 3 inch difference in my like waist and lower torso that happened just over the course of a week, and that's how life is. So that's a little bit of a tangent, but basically everything else I think worked out really well. I'm really happy with all of the extra details I added, and they weren't too difficult. Hopefully there's something that you guys can see and like recreate if you feel like recreating. I tried to not add anything that was like too complex to the alteration of the design, but the pattern's really cute. It makes a really cute dress, and I think if you add in couture finishing techniques into your like home dressmaking, it can really elevate your final product and make it feel more like a store-bought ready to wear kind of item rather than my professor used to call it Becky Home Hacky, which is maybe not the nicest thing to say, but like rather than feeling like it has lots of raw edges and is something that will fall apart after a few uses, having good seam finishing and like couture finishing really makes a lasting garment that you can continue to wear rather than something like from Forever 21 or whatever. That's the end of my spiel. And the next video series is gonna be, it's gonna be 3 videos about some Selkie dresses. I have 2 Selkie dresses that are the same cut of style, like the same style and cut of dress, but they're made in 2 different fabrics. So the way that they react and like live with gravity is 2 very different things. So I think that's really interesting, and I'm gonna go over how to take a pattern from it, how to recreate it. Actually, right now I've got some fabric here for that, so that's exciting, and that's what we're gonna be doing next week. All right, not the fabric. We're gonna be doing another dress analysis, like my strawberry dress analysis. I think that's everything that I wanted to cover. Baby Bed is asleep right now, so she's not going to say goodbye, but that's all I got. I hope you guys really enjoyed this video. If you want to see more things where it's simple dress pattern hacks, where I take a commercial pattern and just add a few extra details that make it more unique, then let me know. I am going to keep making corsets as well, so let me know which patterns you would like to see. I've gotten a few suggestions, so I've added those to my to-do folder. And yeah, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, you can always talk to me in the comments. I'm happy to hear from you guys. And if you want to see the next video, then please hit the subscribe button. I hope to see you guys in the next video. Okay, bye!